We played. I honestly forgot the name of the venue, but we played with a band called Rational Anthem
Oh,
out
hell
out
yeah.
there. Yeah, and it was great. I loved Iowa. It was like such a good time. They were
Yeah,
so good to our band. Um, Iowa kind of rips.
it does. It's one of those like spots that you don't expect it to rip, but the one nice thing is like growing up, we didn't like anyone that was a local. You could live like 2.5 hours away and still be considered like a local band.
Oh,
So when
awesome.
a show comes through that like people want to go to or like seems like it's going to be a good one, like people are going to come out because there's not a lot of like big stuff that happens. I mean, it sounds really bad considering it's Iowa City is a college town, so they do get some big shows. But I feel like when I was in that scene, we would get like a lot of big like touring bands to come through, and then I feel like just from what I've noticed in the past, even like right before pandemic, like it really started slowing down with like bigger touring acts coming through Iowa City.
Yeah. No, yeah. It seemed like yeah, with the like slowing down, it seemed like people were very stoked that there was a band from out of town around. So
Yeah.
it was it was nice. It kind of reminded me of New Jersey because everyone kind of skips New Jersey on tour.
Mm.
So whenever people come to New Jersey, which is in between like two of the bigger cities in the US, it's like, whoa, they're coming to Jersey, like they're really trying to play for us. Like it's great. I mean, I love the small scenes. That's like kind of like my bread and butter. I mean, it's what I came up in. So,
Yeah. Well then, since we're gonna jump right in, what I normally do, like I kind of mentioned, is we usually start the episode with an opening crack, and then I'll do the little intro and then bring you in. Um, so if you have your first beverage ready that you would like to use,
all right. Do you want me to do like want to count to three, or are we just
yeah,
gonna?
yeah. So in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This is already, I know, going to be an awesome episode, and I'm super stoked on it. My guest tonight is Luke from the band Teenage Halloween. How are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I today I've been just working on a lot of stuff. Like I I have to get ready for 40 days on the road. So the last couple days I've been like slowly closing down like the small business I run and like getting all these orders out like really last minute, just like procrastinated a little bit. So I'm just trying to like keep keep things flowing, but it's going good so far. So the next maybe like 6 business days are going to be total cramming.
Oh yeah.
And this weekend we're doing our record release shows, so we're going to be doing that. And yeah, no, I've just been getting so much preparation done because we're going to go on probably the biggest thing we've ever embarked on, and it's just it's going to be great. I mean, I'm excited. I feel everything about it. Yeah.
I mean, I it's not an understatement for people that have not checked out this tour schedule. It is insane, and I'm so happy that we were able to make time before, like we were kind of saying before we started, like all this craziness is about to happen.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
I mean, you have some busy things coming up, like you said. But before we get too far, I did mention your name is Luke from Teenage Halloween. But what do you do in Teenage Halloween for people that might not know?
I am the lead vocalist. I play rhythm guitar and I write lyrics. Yeah. And just yeah, that's what I do. I go on tour and do that.
And I know we are missing a few key members as well. Who are
Totally.
they, and what do they do in Teenage Halloween?
Um so we have Eli Frank who plays lead guitar. Also writes a lot of the songs along with me and our bassist Trisha Marshall, who sings lead vocals on 2 songs on the new record. Is taking a lot more vocal duties does bass, writes lyrics, and Peter Gargano, who is our drummer and rhythm extraordinaire. Um, yeah, no, I mean, we're missing them, but they're here with us in spirit.
Yeah, I mean, like I normally say for members that aren't able to make the episodes, this is where we kind of pour one out for them, and by pour one out, I just mean we have a drink in their honor, real quick. So
Totally.
here's to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, no, I just saw them the other day because we started doing our like release show set practices, and it's feeling really good. Just stoked about it.
Yeah. Before we jump into the new album, I do want to say I know you released the self-titled full length back in 2020. So for people that are just now coming into listening Teenage Halloween, make sure you go listen to that as well. And there was a split that you guys put out in 2022 as well. So everyone go check out all of that. Once you've done all that, then come back to right now, and we're going to talk about this new record that you have coming out. At the time of this recording, it's coming out in what is it? 3 days. Comes out on October 20th. By the time this episode comes out, it's already going to be out for a couple weeks. But it's the new record is called "Till You Return," which I gotta say, thank you so much for sending me the album to check out.
Oh, of course.
It's dude, it rips so hard. Like
Thank you.
it's like I can't imagine how these shows are gonna go. Um, I mean, for most people, they've only heard four singles: "Supertrans," "Takeaway," "Armageddon Now," and "Bitter." I'm gonna
Getting
blank.
bitter.
Getting better, yeah. Uh, and I mean, those songs. Like one of the other reasons, like I hit you up, um, and I was like so on the fence because I was like, I know they have a lot of stuff going on. We'll see if this works out. But every like week, you guys would release a new single basically, or anytime it got released, it would get added to like my like release radars. And so
Uh,
every week I'm like going through my playlist and I'm like, oh man, this it just keeps getting better and like keeps ripping so much. I was like, I have to just send an email if they have time, we'll figure this out. Otherwise, like we'll get it. I need to get them on the show because this album is
yeah,
just incredible.
thank you so much. I mean, it signifies a very alone and like kind of devastated period in my life, and I'm very glad that it's coming out because it feels very liberating. Like it's time to let go of these feelings and keep working.
Hmm.
Um this um this release was like a lot of the lyrics were written during the pandemic, and a lot of it was during like times where I was like using a little too much substance and just like in a very like unsure state. um it it feels great to finally like just like show people this thing because it really it is something that like specifically like compared to any other record or like release we put out, it's like really like hits home for me personally because I feel like it is like the most honest thing I could have made.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like I feel like deep meaning in a lot of the lyrics that are on this album, which um, you know, not to Pokemon, but it's kind of crazy how uh the way y'all are doing your music, it's there's songs that are so bouncy and vibey, but when you really sit back and like look at the lyrics or like fully get it, like you're like, oh, okay, like no, this person was going through some shit at the same time. And
Yeah,
it's always fun to see that aspect of like, yeah, I'm going through shit, but also like let's be bouncy and fun about it until
yeah,
like you fully sit back.
I want to like create a way to experience like euphoria through your darkest emotions and feelings, like to find ways to like positively let out these things in a cathartic way, so like you're able to move forward and not be taken down by negativity, but you're still able to share the things that like were bothering you and like that you're trying to be free from.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, a lot of this record was like Eli wrote a bunch of the songs and brought me a lot of the chord progressions and a lot of the riffs and stuff. And this was the first time that this process was like a thing where like I would write lyrics over instrumentals that were like handed. So I was like about half the record was that, like getting
Okay.
like different instrumentals and like ideas handed to me, and like me like personally like trying to write lyrics over them, and like finding emotions that the actual sound invokes, stuff like that.
Did you
Like
find
I
that like easier or more difficult compared to like your previous writing style?
um I actually loved it because I tend to overthink. So I feel like the fact that I wasn't conceptualizing the music of a full record, and instead like people would give things to the band, like Eli would like, and like Trisha would like throw like ideas to the band and we would like work with them. That was like very interesting, and it felt like I had a lot more space to write like actual like lyrics and like really craft like concepts, which was really helpful, like for this record specifically, because it was something that I really wanted to put like a ton of like personal thought into, like with every line. And it's made writing songs a lot better because I can really focus on concept, subject matter, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's always nice too, especially when projects get a little bit more collaborative, um, just because everyone kind of gets a piece of themselves into the song or what they're putting together, um, which I feel like with bands that do it cohesively, like it really shows where like the band will be super tight through the record, or when you go to watch them play, like everyone's feeling way more emotion during the songs. Yeah, they're all rocking out, having a good time, but I feel like they're playing harder because like they are tied to it more than just like, oh, that's Kenny. He writes the songs. I just play guitar and just I'm
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. I mean, it feels like totally like that. Like it's like a piece of all of us up there. Like I don't feel like it's like a solely me operation when I'm up there. Like I feel like we're all like really building something that we did together. So I'm really like really excited about this record. I'm feeling like people will understand it, which is a cool feeling. Like I'm like pretty after re-listening to it recently, I just was like pretty like not, I don't know, not like talking like it's, I'm not saying like, oh, like I'm amazing. I just like listened to it and I was like, all right, I think that like I successfully got the point I needed to get across. So I'm feeling like really good about that.
But because you had mentioned like you finally went back and kind of like re-listened to the record. At what point did you stop listening to the record? Because I know a lot of people, you know, obviously a lot of these songs were kind of written in like you said during the pandemic. You finally, you know, all the time workshopping it, all the time recording it, listening back, getting it mastered, probably listening to it again. At what point did you like just say like I have to like step away from this because I've listened to it too much and I'm just still analyzing it too much?
I would say like just the last few months, like the main like, oh, like we're now pushing this thing and we like have like done all of the audio stuff we needed to do. Like I would say like the last few months of like mainly like sharing it, figuring out the things we're gonna do with it and stuff, like is like when I've listened to it in full a lot less. When I
Yeah.
was first like when we were all first recording it, I was like listening to it a ton, like trying to like make sure this is like the thing that I want it to be, stuff like that. I mean it, and I don't know, listening to it again, it just feels like it's the thing I wanted to get across. So I'm hoping other people feel that way, but it's like it's good to me, so that's all that counts.
Hell
So
yeah. um, like we kind of mentioned earlier, Trisha does some singing on this record for two songs specifically, and I have them up so I don't butcher them. for Getting Bitter and then Say It, which I gotta say, doing like a little break and having Trisha sing through the record kind of I really enjoyed it because it kind of gives like a little, how do I want to put this, a little break in the album since it is a full length, it's 13 songs. It kind of like doesn't feel as like, not saying that the record feels monotonous in any way, but it doesn't feel like it's monotonous. It gives it that like little break to be like, oh, here's a like a little refresher, and then we go right back in to it. And
Yeah.
I just loved that element to like kind of, especially like the spacing on where those songs are in the set.
Yeah, no, I ever since I met Trisha, I always loved like what she would write about and like what her voice sounded like. So I feel like the way that I feel like having Trisha like sing lead vocals on songs has definitely made it feel just made it feel like it has like a lot more like facets to the project. Like there's like a lot more like things that we're capable of and like able to expand on. So I'm definitely glad you think that. I thought it would be very interesting too.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it's interesting. It's a nice kind of mix up, but I feel like not a lot of bands are doing that. Or I mean, if they, I like out of all the bands that I've talked to, there's only been like a couple that are like, oh no, like we kind of switch off singers throughout like the album, which I think is like kind of nice touch because then it kind of also feels like a mix of like an A and B side slightly, or like
Yeah, yeah.
or like a split, like where it's all like kind of intertwined.
Yeah, I would also say that I always like the refreshing aspect of like a different perspective on a record. What someone else has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always like that. I mean, like I grew up on like Blink, so like when I would listen to like a lot of Blink 182 as a kid, like I always loved that like Mark and Tom would have their own songs, and it would be like they would have like similar subject matter, but I mean, like I always thought it was interesting that there was just like two different perspectives and voices in a band, and I always thought that that was like a really interesting touch you could put on something.
Was it difficult to like get, and I obviously don't know like Trisha's background in playing music, but like was it difficult to get Trisha to come to the forefront to sing those fully? Because I know obviously backing vocals have been done on the previous record.
Yeah, yeah. Trisha has always written songs, and like it was pretty organic, honestly. Like when I asked Trisha to start singing some songs, I think it kind of just happened. But I'm like really glad it did.
Okay, hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love that whole aspect, and then I also wanted to mention like uh you have three music videos out right now, um, at the time of this recording, for four different songs. But I mean, they're all unique in their own way. Obviously, there's one that's kind of like a two-parter, which we'll talk about, I feel like, here in a little bit. But you know, Getting Bitter, Armageddon Now, Super Trans, and Takeaway are the ones that I'm talking about. Like, Getting Bitter is like this nice, like not stop motion, but just like uh uh animated. Then there's like spots where it feels like almost like, not clip art's not the right word, but like you know the spot where like they're playing like guitars when it goes into the like the breakdown, and like it's overlaid like that little
Yeah, yeah.
like animated aspect. I thought that was super cool. The Armageddon Now one where you have the wrestlers and then they kind of like take over at the end. That was super sick. And then just like the super trans into the takeaway, which really, you know, highlights the like the how well those two songs flow into each other, and like the whole storylines through that. Like I gotta say, like three solid music videos back to back to back,
Thank you. Thank you.
and they have different elements that everyone can enjoy. I loved watching every single one.
Yeah, no, we wanted to do like we wanted to really capitalize of like on like the chaos of the band. So in those videos, we really wanted to make like very like fun, chaotic videos that like had like meanings to them. Like like the super trans takeaway video in specific is a it's like all of the things that I hate the most about myself, and each member of the band like signifies different things in the video, and I'm like fighting them so I can move past them, like moving past like trauma by exposure.
Okay.
So like that video like is totally about like just how everything feels like a manic dream, and then like you wake up, nothing gets better. It's still the like still like the things that you feel the most like insecure and like unsure of about yourself are still in the forefront. Like it's not a dream anymore, and now you have to like deal with them. And we wanted to do that in a very like not serious way. We have like our friend Jordan, who's in a band called Cali Cousins. He did the directing, like he helped us conceptualize the whole thing, like based on like info that I had given about like personal things. And we really turned it into something that felt like a B-rated horror movie, like something like really
Yeah.
just like grotesque. Like I loved it. Yeah, I mean that was like exactly what I wanted a video of ours to look like. So I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah, I loved the switch when it went into takeaway where, you kind of that's the part in the storyline where you're waking up and then it is that like kind of B grade horror movie like just feel to it.
Yeah,
And
like me and Eli are like yelling at each other, and Eli like smacks me out of the dream, and I'm just like, oh shit. Yeah, no, yeah,
yeah,
no, I wanted it to like I like a lot of like slasher movies and like old like 60s, 70s, and 80s like gore movies. So
mm,
I was like obviously I couldn't create that on YouTube, but I love like that's why we use like a lot of fake blood and like
a
stuff like
carrot.
that. Yeah, the carrot. Yeah, Eli came up with that. I thought it was awesome. We just wanted to keep like we wanted to push like a very funny like B movie that like
Yeah,
we created. Yeah.
yeah, I love that one. And like as someone that like I'm not like a horror fan, but I
Totally.
can still appreciate it. And I just loved what you were doing based off of those aspects and like the stuff that I've seen. Um, but like especially like like the driving over of your one member and then to kind of like speeding
Peter,
away like
yeah.
just to end it off like overall like I loved that one. And then obviously we have Armageddon Now, which is the four of you all playing while you have these wrestlers going through like a little match around you. Um,
Yeah.
and then the nice little twist towards the end where they all kind of take over the instruments and
Yeah.
and kind of finish it off. I love that little touch. But just that room in general, just like it felt because you can see like the track that the camera guy is going on. So it like that one it was kind of cool because it felt like super big production. Like, did you kind of feel that way when you were doing that one?
The, that video, we rented a little photo studio, and it was like a really nice one, but we had like a room that was like kind of looked like just like a really like dirty gym. Like it reminded me of like Rocky. Like, because I
Okay.
was just, I was actually like, I was watching all of the Rocky movies, like right around that time where we were like on its own. Like I'm not even because of like Teenage Halloween. Like I was just like watching all the Rocky movies. So it reminded me of like Mickey's gym,
Okay.
like in Philly. And I that was like a real big motivator in that video. Like while we were recording it, I was like, yeah, like I want to like want it to feel like a Rocky story kind of thing. Um, but they had that what I don't really do production, but they had like this like circle thing that was like train tracks that they had like
Mhm.
a camera dolly on that would just like go all around us while we're playing. I loved it. I love that also like you can kind of see some of that stuff because it's a room full of mirrors. So like we realized as it was getting edited that it's going to break the fourth wall like no matter what. So I mean, yeah, no, I actually really loved how that video came out. I mean, it was the most recent one we recorded, and it was fun. And Judith and like Reed and Mem are all like great wrestlers and like just overall like they do like queer pro wrestling in New
Oh
York
hell yeah.
City. So and like are all like friends through different walks of life of mine. Like I've known actually Judith is Trisha's cousin.
Oh okay.
So yeah, and then Mem is like used to be in the band and like is like a good friend of mine, played in the Jeffrey Lewis band, bunch of other
Okay.
like cool bands. And Reed was in like a bunch of punk bands back in the day, and like I knew them through that. So I mean, it was like it was funny because they all did pro wrestling and they all like showed up for the video, just like totally kept it going.
That's fucking awesome. It's crazy like how um like we were talking earlier, like, you know, through the internet we find all these people that we get connected with, but it's also crazy how intertwined just like your local scene can be with like other like art forms or things going on.
Oh
Um
hell yeah,
like
totally.
it's like you'll be like obviously you're in the music scene doing all that. They are also connected to the music scene, whether they played in it, they know someone, but then now you're like slightly intertwined with like that wrestling scene as well. And then there's like probably like another branch in there somewhere to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Like I know people from like through music, people from like pro wrestlers, and then I do like noise music too. And I know like someone who's a welder. Like I know like just so many like random walks of life that do music also. And it's great because it's like such a shared hobby because music is like the rhythm of life. So
Right.
yeah.
Uh, one cool thing that's kind of to branch off of that is you. I mean, most bands will do like one record release show, maybe two, but Teenage Halloween is doing three record release shows.
Yeah.
One in New Jersey, one in Philly, and then one in New York. What was the like? Why three, and why those specific locations?
Um Honestly, the reason we did that was because the New York people won't leave New York. The Philly people won't leave Philly, and the Jersey people sure as hell won't leave Jersey. So we wanted to like we wanted it to be like convenient for everyone. We wanted to also like play to all of our friends because those are the three places that through the like almost I mean next year we're a decade old. So I mean, we've been playing in those three places like mainly for that amount of time. So it's like there's so many different friends in all those spots that we wanted to play for and play with. So we just were like, why not make a weekend out of it and like make them all equally as special?
Yeah. I mean that's the kind of funny thing about like so a band does their first tour, they meet a bunch of people, and then the second tour you route it and you just try and see all your friends that you've like made prior to that, and you just keep expanding on it and keep going further and further outside your circle.
Totally.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but no, that's awesome. Hopefully all those shows go well. I know the good folks in Puppy Angst are playing your Philly show. Shout out to them. They were on the podcast recently. Um,
Awesome. They're great.
yeah.
They are a really, really good band. I was like super stoked that they were down.
Yeah, all your lineups are super sick, and then then from there, like we kind of mentioned, you have uh, I think like a nice little 5 day window, and then you hit the road for like you were saying like 40 days, and I know this episode will come out by the time I think I figured it out exactly. Your This episode comes out the same day that y'all are in El Paso, Texas. So if you're listening to this on Friday 11:10 in the morning, make sure you get to that El Paso show. But then there's still so many more dates after this. So
Yeah,
anyone like you still that's just on your way to California and hitting all those before you bounce back through the Midwest. Um, like how daunting was it coming up with the idea of like, okay, we're releasing our second album, let's do this run but do it bigger than we ever have.
Um, it's it was the logical next step because we did two South bys ago. We did a full US for South by Southwest, and that was like 39 days or something, like 37 days. And that was wild. Like that was like a whole like experience in its own. Like I remember all of it, but remember not a lot of it, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that.
Um, Feeling like this tour with more off days is going to be a lot more comfortable because that we are still going to be on the road, but we'll have like one or two a week, which will be
Mhm.
like a lot better. We got COVID at the end of the tour that was two South bys ago. Yeah, we had to leave and to go home from Wisconsin. So this tour we are not trying to do that. So we're going to be like beyond on top of that. Like we were, but like this is like we got to go to a new level because if we're going to be out this long, like we can't get sick. So
Right.
um
Speaking of that, like, how are you feeling? I know you went and got your booster today.
yeah.
It going okay so far?
Yeah, I mean I had Moderna, Pfizer and Johnson and Johnson now.
Okay.
So like I'm a cocktail. So I mean I'm feeling as good as you can feel after one of those. I mean like I'm tired. I mean, that's about it. And like last time I was like cooped up for like days, like sniffling. Like I hated that. But I mean, I don't know. I was like really sick last week, but I didn't have COVID. So I
Mm,
mean, maybe my antibodies right now are really good because I'm feeling great. Like just
yeah.
tired. Like my arm's a little sore, but I mean, we'll see how I feel tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm right now I'm like, oh, totally good for this. Like I'm happy to be here and like I'm just a little tired.
Yeah.
But
Uh, well, that's good that you're feeling good. I know, like we kind of mentioned earlier, well, earlier today, obviously before we recorded, that you were getting that done.
I was like, don't hate me if I like die. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's a reasonable excuse not to make it onto the episode. So I would be okay.
No, but I
Um,
was like, fuck yeah. I was like, this person's really chill and I'm feeling really good. So we're
yeah,
good.
I I don't know. I hit like a point in my life where I just kind of stopped. Like I care, but like I stopped like worrying about stuff that wasn't like overtly important or like in that aspect. Like I know I was talking to someone and they're like, "How are you just like yourself?" And I'm like, "Dude, I like yeah, it sucks, but like there's nothing I can do about it. Like why would I worry about it? Like yes, if Luke were to get sick, I like one, I would feel bad that you got sick, but two, I would be like, it's just a podcast. It's not like the end of the world. Like we'll do something. Like
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
mean,
over it.
I've literally learned to be the same way. Like I used to be like so anxious about everything. Like if something didn't go my way, I'd like freak out really hard. And I mean, like nowadays it's just like I can't control anything. So
Right?
like why not like just roll with whatever? I don't know.
Yeah. But I want to jump
All
back
right,
into
cool.
this into this whole tour. Obviously, like we're saying, this is 40 days. This is a long time. Being cooped up in the van um with your bandmates and possibly like a merch person and stuff like that. I know when I was on the road, it was me as the merch person and a band of five dudes. So like we would have those moments and get heated, but we would try and do some fun stuff in the van to kind of ease the tension. Do you guys do like any fun games while you guys are on the road?
Oh, we love Mad Libs.
Okay.
Like love Mad Libs. Like that is like the game for us like when we're on tour like and like Trisha like will read like really funny like fan fictions to us like when because like Trisha like loves Reddit so we were like we just like I don't know like we'll find like funny stuff and read it I mean we definitely like try to share like the silly things we like see on our phone with each other. I
Right.
mean, I'm definitely like I'm very pro like lately. Like I used to be a lot more like crazy all the time in the van and like just like the annoying member, but nowadays I'm just like very pro silence during the drives. But that's just me. Like
Yeah.
I just really love like this is my alone time, so let me just like make that my alone time.
Right.
Because like the gigs is it's like there's so much stuff at shows that you have to be very alert and like ready to do.
No, but to bounce off what you said, like yeah, like all like you're at the shows. That's kind of like sensory overload sometimes. So you really do need those moments by yourself in the van. The nice thing that we did in our van was we had a I built bunk it like a like I basically took out the back two seats of our 15-seater van and built a whole bunk in the back so you could like it was like a nice little like cave in the back and then we stored everything on top. So days that I didn't have to drive, I would just like, I don't want to like deal with anyone. I'm just gonna go into the cave and then just like either nap or just like watch a movie on my computer and just like be alone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love that idea. I mean, was it a giant van that y'all were
Yeah,
in?
it was a 15-seater, so like we were able to take out the last two seats, so it wasn't too bad.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a Ford E350 or
Okay,
no, E150. Yeah, it's like because we had an E350, but it like shit out on a tour, so now we have an E150 and we actually bought our old van back and made it way better.
oh hell yeah,
So yeah, like we sold the first van we ever got and then bought a new van and that van was actually like a lemon and it like ended up like really going bad on a tour.
yeah.
So we're like we're scrapping it in the process of that and like we bought our old van back.
Does your van have a name?
Our old van we called Lucy because our old trumpet player had a Jeep that he named Lucy.
Okay,
So so we just stuck with that. We thought it was really funny because like I don't know a lot of people that name their cars. So I was just like, all right, we'll call this Lucy also. But
yeah.
then the um the van that we had that shit out was called the Cow because it was black and white and it kind of looked like the side of a cow when you looked at it.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always funny when bands come up with like their names. I think if I remember correctly, Goalkeeper's van is oh I'm gonna butcher it. I want to say it's Goal Beeper, but I feel like that's wrong. I'm so sorry if they're listening and I got that wrong.
No,
Um,
no, that's
but but yeah, so I think that's theirs. I know the van that we would ride in, the guys named it after my mom, so I've refused to call it by my mom's name, because I just felt like that was weird. Also, the van that we had before that one
damn.
was named after a different guy we went to high school's mom. So I don't know why they got on that track,
Wow,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's something else. I mean, if it was named after my mom, I would not refer it to that. I'm like,
right,
I love my mom enough that she's not a car, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, everyone names gives their van a weird name. It's just kind of like one of those like depraved tour things.
yeah. Uh, I did want to if y'all are up for a couple extra games while you're on the road, the two games that we would always play, we would do what are the odds, which I feel like is a classic one that like a lot of people do now. But we would also play a game called Hey Cow, uh, and you can substitute any animal that you want. It's just we just call it Hey Cow, but basically you're driving down the interstate or a highway, and you see a cow or any other animal in the field. You just roll down your window and yell, "Hey cow" at the cow, and however many you can get to turn and look at you, that's your point.
Yo, that's awesome. That actually is like awesome. Yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna present that to them for sure. Like specifically, hey cow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's I don't remember who came up with it or how we figured started doing that one, but that one it's always just fun, especially like if there's like a lull moment, especially like I think there was I want to say this happened, but I could be wrong because like you mentioned, you remember all of tour, but also all of tour was a blur. Um like I feel like there was a moment where like someone had just gotten done like having like some sort of an argument and then you just like we're all in silence and then all you hear is just the window go down and then someone yell hey cow and then it just breaks any tension that's going on.
Totally. I mean, I love like dumb stuff like that. I mean, when I was touring with a band called Phantom, that's like my little brother's band.
Okay.
Um and they always would do like would you rathers.
Mm.
And those got just brutal. Yeah. Like that's like a great game too.
Like you did mention you guys did well your brother's band did would you rathers and you mentioned like those could get kind of dicey. We also did like I think I mentioned what are the odds, which could get very dicey because I mean we didn't do anything too crazy, but there was a couple crazy things that had happened. Like we got a friend to beer bong and four loco from doing it, so it could be some rough times, but kind of jumping back into everything teenage Halloween. I know we kind of talked about the record, talked about the tour, kind of talked about like the new writing style and everything like that. But is there anything that we might have missed between Teenage Halloween, Till You Return, or anything else that you want the people to know about before we transition?
Um, I would say that I just want people to know that it is definitely a record that I hope like people can feel in solidarity with based on like the isolation that we've all collectively had as a community and as people in this world.
And then, for everyone listening, make sure you go check out Till You Return. I know at the time of this recording, there's pre-orders up, but by the time this episode's out, well, I think the pre-orders will still probably be up. But you have all the records in hand too, right? So those probably ship pretty
Yeah, people
quick.
are actually getting them now.
Oh hell yeah! I gotta
Yeah,
say,
no.
there's one of the variants that you have on Bandcamp. It is like that orange, like kind of like
Yeah, the
sherbet.
fire one.
Oh, dude, it looks so sick. Like that's probably my favorite variant of the ones that I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah, no, I was hyped when I saw that one because like the rest of the band chose it. I'm not really good with like I'm not the one that's gonna be like hands on with stuff like that. Like honestly, like the really finite stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm a lot more like song oriented than like the other stuff around like records.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I hate something, I'll say it. But like usually, I trust my bandmates' intuitions, especially like just like about like stylistic stuff.
I also want to point this out: the album artwork and just like the color scheme that's used for it, with like these like the teal, the pink, and like the kind of like red, orange, and yellow. Like they're so I don't know. I just enjoy looking at those colors on this album artwork. Like it comes off so well. Where like it's not like super in your face. It's just like subtle enough where I'm like it's enjoyable to look at. Like I would look at like a painting of that.
Yeah, Landon Sheely was the artist. Landon was someone we got connected with because we loved the art for Nana Grizzle.
Okay.
And if you know that band, we like found out about Landon's art because one of the more recent Nana Grizzle records was done by him.
Oh hell yeah.
And then Landon and us became friends and stuff. Landon's in Wisconsin near Minneapolis, so
Oh no shit. Okay, hell
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I loved. I can't stress enough how amazing this record is, and I hope everyone else enjoys it as much as I got to listen. As much as I did when I listened to it. From top to bottom, there's, in my opinion, it's a good old no skipper. Like there's nothing
Oh
that
yeah.
I got tired of listening to it. Each time hitting a fresh play at the beginning uh, was very enjoyable to listen through for the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad. I mean, we were trying to really make the flow super good. That was like a big
big part of it because a lot of the songs are pretty different from each other. So we were just
Mhm.
like, yeah, we should like really make sure this thing like when we put it on is like just a banger instead of like kind of like going too all over the place, if that makes sense, or like too
Oh,
similar.
100%, because especially, this is 13 songs. It's a good size LP,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a lot of bands that will either, front load an album, or just like you're like they it's hard to keep someone's attention past, I feel like, sometimes five or six. um
Yeah.
and kind of bouncing off, like we said earlier, like adding in those two songs from Trisha where she sings helped like break it up enough where like it didn't feel like you were getting to a point where you're like, oh, okay, like I've if it's like the same thing, I've gotten there. And then just everything else, the four of you are doing, just it doesn't make it. It's all a Teenage Halloween album, but it doesn't feel like just one long continuous song like some people do.
Yeah.
Not knocking anyone, but just like it's mixed up enough where it keeps your attention with each song. There's something a little bit different.
Yeah, my favorite song on the record actually is the last one.
Oh,
Oh, the drama. Yeah.
okay, hell yeah.
Yeah, that one is like because it's like it's definitely like it's one of the slowest songs we've made. So I really like that about it. I like that it's like really like it goes from like folk to slowcore to like Weezer kind of punk, and I'm like really into those like epic, weird, like changing all around kind of songs. So yeah, that's the one for me. I mean, we had a part that was like a jam part in it that got cut out. Joe was like, who recorded it, was like, we're not doing that. Um, because it was like this one part that was like I love the Grateful Dead, so I just had this like like in that song, like there's this one part, it was just like chaos, like where it's just like like shit like that, and like Joe was like, we are not gonna do that at all, and that's like kind of why I love that song so much, because it was like we had so much more for it that was like just like absurd and like really terrible, and we turned it into a lot better of a song.
Well, there's always chance for like a B side to come out where it's just like that super long version.
Yeah.
um, I can't stress enough. Everyone go listen to "Till You Return." Um, like it's sick, super great. But we're gonna start to transition to the later half of this episode. But before we get there, this is Beers with Bands. You don't actually have to be drinking on these episodes because I will definitely do that for you. But I know you have a couple beverages in front of you tonight. What are you drinking on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
What am I drinking, or the audience?
What are you drinking?
Yeah, so I was drinking the Finnish long drink, Legend of 1952. Um, it's good. It's gin with grapefruit, juniper berry flavors, and carbonation.
Ooh.
Obviously, yep. And then now I've moved on, and now I'm at the Mighty Swell pineapple spiked seltzer, and this is good. I'm just I'm not crazy about it. I'm not exactly into hard seltzer, but it's like it gets the job done, and it's
Yeah.
like a little. I'm like I'm personally working on my like health a little bit. So I mean, like I'm definitely like trying to drink the seltzers a little more, because I feel like I've had like 10 years of like intense beer, so I'm just like, yeah, like try to drink in style.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. That was the I totally agree where seltzers are hard to get into, but at the same time, you look at like what is fully going in and how much you're consuming, and it's like, oh, you know what? Killing a few seltzers is probably better than killing like
Yeah.
as the same amount in PBRs where it's just like super heavy. So I totally agree with you on that. The other
Yeah,
aspect
I
is,
was gonna bring a Miller Lite to fuck with you, honestly. Like I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna bring on this beer blog, podcast. I'm gonna bring a Miller Lite and be like, this is my beer.
I mean,
But
I mean,
no.
I wouldn't have judged because I 90%
Uh,
of these episodes are doing PBRs. The dudes that I had on the last episode. They did hams.
Oh, the
Like
best.
yeah,
That is the nectar of the gods right there. Like the hams. I mean, that is like I have a sip of that, and I like think about like when I was like 20 to like 22. I'm like, this is just like the best.
I respect it. On this episode though, I do not have a PBR. I if anyone remembers my tweet and I talked about it on the last episode, I challenged myself and I also opened it up to anyone listening um, to basically not drink the same thing on every episode because, like I said, 90% of these episodes are all PBR. This one I picked up some Kona Big Wave, Liquid Aloha. Um, we have Liquid Death and Water, but this is Liquid Aloha, so I feel like that means a little bit more.
Yo, I want to try that honestly. I mean,
it's not bad.
Yeah, no, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's refreshing. I was gonna make a joke about it being like super negative today in Minneapolis, but it was like 55, 60. So I can't really make the joke, but I would have said, it's cold outside, but physically I'm in the cold. Mentally I'm on a beach in Hawaii. But yeah, but it didn't.
It gets really bad there, right? Like with the cold, like it gets like brutal.
Yeah, it can. Like I've maybe last year, it for sure was to like the wind chill was like down to like -30. It gets fucking brutal.
Yeah, that's tough, dog. I mean, yeah.
And it's crazy because like I said, I used to live in Iowa, which is south of Minneapolis, south of Minnesota in general, and then I moved north to get further up into the cold. It makes no fucking sense. I hate all my friends that made me move here.
Well, it's a beautiful city. I mean,
it really is.
I like have never had like a really like bad time out there. So
yeah, it's great. I love everyone that I've met since I've been here. I love Minneapolis. And I bought a house here, so I can't leave.
The punk there rocks. Like
oh hell yeah.
Yeah, no, there's like so many good bands. There's that band. Do you know Tweens?
No.
They're sick. They toured with I think like Screaming Females or like Sheer Mag. They're like a really good like punk band out there. There's like I love Bugsy. We did some shows with them. They're amazing. Yeah. No, there's great music out there for real.
Yeah, cool. It's crazy because like I feel like I saw someone post today like they updated like a playlist or whatever, and they put like the featured like who's the cover art on there, and I saw the band name and I was like, oh, I'll check them out. And I clicked on it. They're from Minneapolis. I'm like, every day I'm finding a
what band was it?
I'd have to look on my phone. I'll text it to you.
Yeah, totally.
But it feels like every day I'm finding like a new band in the Twin Cities. Like there's just so many people doing music and like killing it at the same time.
It's right in the middle of this whole country. Like it really, it's like you gotta have good music there,
Right. But yeah, so that's the little, beer beverage segment for this episode. But now we're going to transition to the later half of this episode, which is always my favorite part of the episode. I know we talked about the record and everything you got going on, and I loved it. But the whole reason this podcast exists is because me and my friends were tired of talking about our own tour stories to each other when we all were in the van together. So this is where I get to listen to some stories from your time of music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, you have some music videos that you recorded, so I'm sure there's some funny shenanigans that happen there. As I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had a fair share. I mean, we did, I mean, I know this is not my story to tell, but they're like half of the band actually, when we got shows with Chris Farron like 2 years ago, like me, Peter, and Eli flew back and played those East Coast shows from Texas, and then Hakeem and Brett, who were on tour with us, drove the van from Austin to Phoenix, and then we met back because it was during a tour, like a full US that was already booked.
Jeez.
So they have a lot of crazy stories from that, like for sure. Like just like being like going from like Austin to Phoenix, just driving. Um, we've had some stuff like we've like showed up to a venue and it had to get moved twice because the guy didn't have rent for the show. So like the guy that booked us didn't have like the rent money for the show. So like there was like a point where we had to move to a studio and then go to another like radio station place. And then at the end, we got paid in tikka masala chips. Yeah, and then there was the Boston Fuzz Festival that night. So like a couple of the bandmates went to it. Ty Siegel was playing like a lot of rippers. And we showed up to the place we were supposed to stay, and there was like used condoms on the floor and like just like total like trash like everywhere, like week old food and stuff. And
Jeez.
and yeah, no, that was probably the worst day ever on tour. I mean, we went to a restaurant in the Bay Area where none of the like it like was like a giant, it was like a chalkboard written menu, and all of the food was like $10 more expensive, but they didn't explain that before we ate it. So I mean, no, there's like a couple ones. I mean, honestly, like for our longer tours, we definitely like have had such a more like structured situation. So there's a lot more like a lot less room for like weird stuff, I guess. I mean, like we met like my friend my friend Carissa, we met because she was our waitress at Mellow Mushroom in Colonial Williamsburg and then came to our show in Richmond because we like all became friends with her and we were like you should come to our show, and we all hung out there, but like literally like she was just like our waitress and we were like hanging out, and it was I mean like stuff like that happens a lot actually. Like we meet like we'll meet someone that is we'll meet someone like eating out or something, and like they'll come to our show because that we're in a place we're not really familiar with. We don't have a lot of friends, so we talk to people. I mean, that's like it's the key to making any connection like anywhere. So
Yeah, and it comes across like you're always gonna get stopped and like ask questions because a van pulls up and like 4 to 5 people get out and they're like, "Are you guys in a
they're like
band?" And you're
dressed
like,
like me
"Yeah,
right now and shit. Like they're like they all come out and they're all like dirty and like
yeah." Like I remember one time we were in, we played like upstate New York somewhere, like maybe like Buffalo, I think. Um, but we were, I don't remember how we ended up on the road, but on this specific road, but we like stopped, and I think we were getting gas, and like the person that was like working the gas station was like, "Are you guys in a band?" And we're like, "Yeah." And as we have like a 15-seater van and a trailer, like it kind of dead giveaway. But like, so we got to talking with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Like I know where the show's at or whatever. Can't go because like I got to work." But then they end up being cool enough where they let us like crash at their place after the show. So like we came back and like still hung out with them, and like they were super nice and like let 5 random dudes stay at their house. Like it's
totally,
crazy.
yeah. I I I'm not gonna say who, but someone in like a pretty popular band we stayed with, and my feet were smelling like worse than anything ever, and I like totally made their house smell like my feet. And I really still feel really like regretful of that because they were like so nice and they were in a band I love and they were just like you can stay here like no problem, and I just like totally made their house smell like feet.
Oh man.
um I mean a lot of like I don't know, a lot of like touring for me, I'm actually like I don't know, the last couple of years I've been on a lot better behavior, so a lot less room for for stuff like that. I mean, back in the day when we were playing like house shows all the time, though, like I don't remember a lot of that. Like that was just like bullshit. Like we had to like there was one time our friend got drunk and we thought he was missing and we had to like look for him, but he was just passed out where we played. Like in the basement. Like he was literally like we went around town because we were all drunk and like in panic mode.
Yeah.
And but he was literally just like in the basement that we played
Jeez.
in. Yeah, like in a corner too. So it was like a lot more like maybe you didn't notice him there when we were first looking.
Right.
But yeah, no, there's like tour is just like tour is like no matter how much you prep and how much you get ready to just like do this in like a really like organic, like chill way, like there's always gonna be a weird problem.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This tour coming up, I mean, it's gonna have a lot of stories because it's like it's just so long and like we're like going to so we're covering so much ground in America. So I mean, we'll see how that goes for sure. I mean, we've really met some amazing people. Like just like if we like, I don't know, like we were in like Mississippi, like in Hattiesburg, and we locked our keys out of the car and like this like random lady like knew a locksmith guy that like came for free and hooked us up. And like there's just like been like moments like that are like my favorite. Like there's like random like bouts of kindness from people where it's like, oh, I probably would just like walk away because I'm so like busy with my own day, but like some people like actually stop for you and like really really show up for you, and it's just amazing.
Right. Yeah, like the amount of kindness that you get and can find on tour is just remarkable. The amount of people that, you know, have open doors to be like, yeah, you guys are good to stay here, do whatever you want. Um like is just insane. Anyone that's willing, any like of those specific restaurants that are also like willing to um hook you up with food is like a big thing. Like
Yeah,
it's
Chipotle
truly
back
amazing.
then. Oh,
Yeah.
the Chipotle thing is so dead. Like you know that, right? Like have you heard?
So we never tried it. Um,
You know,
but I remember the time when it was full swing. I guess I didn't realize at what point it stopped
it was an
happening.
incredibly effective scam. Well, it was. I mean, they didn't actually have that rule. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Like no, like it was like a scam. Like they didn't have the touring band rule. You would like essentially like tell them that, and
Oh, okay.
they would, yeah. Like it's like I worked for Chipotle. Like I literally was like, it literally was like a actual scam that people were willing to buy into because that they cared about musicians.
Wow.
So, I mean, like my one friend wrote a whole article about it, like in like the paper. Like it's just like one of those things that's like I don't know, just like one of those like random life hacks.
I guess yeah. Growing
Just
up,
like how at Whole Foods they don't stop they you can't get stopped for stealing.
yeah, I think I knew that one.
Yeah, you can like fucking go in the hot bar and like totally like veg out and just like not not get told to stop. Rules.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the band has definitely ran into a lot of crazy things on tour, and I feel like the amount of it has clouded the little stories. So like a lot of the time I'm kind of like unsure, but I mean our van is like like not exploded, but has like actually broken down a bunch of times on the road, like in unsafe ways.
Oof.
Like like has like flown off the side of the road, has like because of tire pops, or
Jeez.
like we've like lost coolant and then we're smelling smoke and it's coming in the van, like stuff like that because of like I don't know if you're out for a long enough time and you're doing it enough, like you're gonna see like crazy shit because that you're overusing a vehicle.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, that's insane. Thankfully, like the our guitarist, he was the one that his parents owned the van, so they would do like maintenance on it and like make sure it was all like tip top shape before we like took off. The only thing that like ever really happened to it when we were using it was uh I think we had like a brake issue, but we were also getting back to town soon, so that one was a big deal. But we were coming back from California and going through the desert, and our AC goes out. That was one of the worst drives.
That's so bad.
Yeah, because it was
Man.
like at least like June or something. So like it's like starting to get to like peak heat moments, and we're just like dying, and like it's just so brutal.
No, that's terrifying. I mean, honestly, like that shit is so real. Like having like making sure you're comfortable in the heat in certain parts of America. Like it
Mhm.
gets like terrifyingly hot. Like I mean like when I was in like Arizona, like and that is like some of the most like dry heat. Like you're going to get burned like crazy, like
Yeah,
weather.
dude, I don't know how people can do it. Like, yeah, the winters suck here, but I'll put up with that if I don't have to deal with like super dry heat. Um, but is there anything like on this tour? Obviously, you're hitting so many stops. Is there anywhere that like you're super excited to like hit again on this run?
Oh, again, I'm so hyped to hit Bay Area. I mean, that shit went off last time.
Oh yeah.
We're excited. Oh, also, oh my God, Sacramento. That was like the best show of the full US we did last time. So we're excited for that. Um, love Austin because mainly the food is like it is the best food town. Like I shit you not. Like it is like that is like the food capital of America, in my opinion. Like I've never had better food than when I'm in Austin, Texas,
Okay.
for real. And then I mean, yeah, I mean Chicago is gonna be awesome with the Popes. That'll be really cool. Um, mainly those spots. I mean, the places I'm most excited for where we've actually never been. Like I'm like really, really, really stoked to go to Vegas, strictly because that Vegas intrigues me. Like I really, really like am interested in the fact that it's like this like gambling like world in the desert.
And this will be your first time in Vegas, just in general.
Ever
Okay.
seeing it, ever understanding it. Maybe I'll walk into a Blue Man Group show. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird. It's a weird place, and I've heard that it's just there's like snakes. Like I've heard it's just like really, really, really weird. Like there's like snakes on the ground in the city and stuff like that.
So the first time I experienced Vegas, we were driving out to like on our run to California. So we drove through Vegas at night, which was super cool because like the strip is like right off the interstate, so you're driving through and everything's just kind of lit up. Like as you get closer and closer to Las Vegas, it's just like gets brighter and brighter. So that was really cool to kind of experience. And then I think it was 2 years ago for my birthday. I think it was 2 years ago. Time flies. But at some point, me and my dad went out to Vegas for our birthdays because we share a birthday, and that was my first time like going and like being actually in Vegas and like staying. I didn't see any snakes. Um, I just did a lot of walking and it sucked. I'm also not like a gambler, so like I was kind of like, okay, but weed's legal, so that's
Oh,
cool.
really? That's interesting actually, because
Yeah.
I know it's super illegal around it. So
Yeah, I think you gotta. From what I've heard, also you gotta be careful. Like if you're gonna be on the strip, like don't buy weed from the spots on the strip because those ones are like super overpriced and
yeah,
usually half the
yeah.
time not actually like what you're supposed to be
Because
getting.
that's like that's my drug of choice. Like I smoke weed every day. Like that is like that's kind of like I'm not a drinker, so that's why I'm like getting all these like cringe drinks on this thing. But like yeah, no, I'm real excited to like hit up definitely excited to hit Vegas. I mean, the main one for me is Denver though, because I've never been to Colorado. Always wanted to. Like, it's one of the most like it's cool as hell. Like I
Yeah.
love Colorado in terms of like the pictures I've seen and stuff. Um, Vegas, I'm intrigued by because like one of my favorite movies ever is Leaving Las Vegas, which is one of the saddest movies of all time. But and so I'm like, let me have a good time and prove that movie wrong.
Right. Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, you should have fun there. Because also you're gonna be there with like basically your best friends.
Yeah, totally.
So like,
Yeah,
no matter if like a town is shitty, you're still like having a good time anyways. So
I'll get the slots going. I mean, I'll
yeah.
try something. I don't know.
Uh, no, I mean, like I said, you'll have a great time regardless. I mean, that's really the thing I miss about like being on the road is just being in a van with my best friends and just having a fun time. Whether like we play it, they play a show to two people or not, like we're still having a good fucking time. Um, Luke, before I let you go, I like to usually end off on like a pretty good high note. From your time in Teenage Halloween, what would you say is like your favorite moment that you've experienced so far?
Um, I will say, like, genuinely, our show in April would say anything. That was like my favorite show I've ever played. Um, I've been insanely into Say Anything since I was like 13, and like I'll never like act like that's not like something I was honored to do. Like that band is like so pivotal to like the beginning of Teenage Halloween like a decade ago that it's like that it really felt like the project was coming full circle in a way that was really like cathartic.
I mean, that's amazing that you get to, you got to play with basically like your heroes.
Yeah,
I
totally.
know there's a lot of people that don't get to do that, and to be able to do that, that's amazing, especially
Yeah.
if they have all this impact.
Yeah, like Say Anything and like Jeff Rosenstock are like kind of like the huge reasons to why this band exists. Though I'm not into the same style of music that those bands are as much in my daily life anymore, I
mhm.
still write that kind of stuff. And like those are like those bands are like the reasons I do that. And like they're the reasons that I've like shaped myself as an artist in a way that like sounds and like it's that genre like like I feel like I was like able to shape myself as an artist because of those bands. So
Right. No, yeah, that's amazing. I hope Jeff's listening. Maybe you get to play with Jeff at some point too. That'd be kind of sick to
yeah.
chalk both of those off the list.
Yeah, we
Um,
played with Jeff only one time, and it was at a college. It was really, really fun. It was in a New Jersey college called TCNJ,
okay,
and yeah, that was with the Jeff full band. I think Post just came out, so
Luke, I mean, obviously I've said it. Like the album is sick. I've had a great time chatting with you today. Um, like this is leading up to this. Like we kind of said, or like you kind of said, like texting me back and forth. Like I could tell like it was gonna be good vibes. This conversation's been great. Like I'm super stoked on everything that you have going on, and what's coming like next. Like I can't wait to see what Teenage Halloween does to kind of top this going
thank
forward.
you.
Yeah, like you guys are truly killing it and doing great.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that so much. I really hope that we get to hang out at a show or something like in the future. Like I hope I get to see you around, you know?
Yeah, like I remember when the first flyer dropped and there was like those 4 dates that you didn't have like filled, and I was like fingers crossed, maybe they'll pull off like a Minneapolis show, and then obviously it didn't work out this time, but
Yeah.
we will get together at some point. We'll smoke a bowl or have a good old seltzer. We'll do something.
Fuck yeah,
Um,
I'm so down. Yeah,
yeah,
totally. I mean, when you have my number now, so
yeah.
whenever we roll through town, expect a guest list. It'll be a great time.
Well,
Hell yeah.
to counteract that, anytime you roll through town, you got a place to stay. You let me know.
Oh yeah. Your
Uh,
house
uh,
looks comfy, I'll tell you that. That
dude, this
couch
couch,
is
this couch is comfy as hell. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
would sleep on this. Like I have a bed upstairs, but I would sleep on this any day.
Yeah, you're like, if I didn't have my bed though.
Yeah. If I didn't have a dang bed, I'd right there.
Fuck yeah, I'll see you around, bud. Thank you so
well,
much.
well, hold on before I let you go. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or just Teenage Halloween in general, where can they find it?
Bandcamp, teenagehalloween.bandcamp.com. We occasionally post merch on our story on Instagram at Teenage Halloween. If you ever want to reach out to us directly, we're very approachable. We're always just on our stuff. We have a link tree. If you look up teenagehalloween.com, it shows you everything. Anything you want to see, like all the socials, anything that you're on, it'll show you, and it's right there.
But yeah, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, or you watched the YouTube video and you got to see Luke's lovely face like I did tonight, make sure you check the description, hit those hyperlinks, go follow Teenage Halloween on all the socials, stay up to date, be ready for future music, future releases. Go get the vinyl if you haven't already. And then there's still like 30 days of tour left for these fine folks. Go to a show if they're coming near you. I'm looking at everyone that I know in Davenport. You better be going to that show.
You gotta come so I can buy these. Like, you gotta support us so we can still drink beer.
Yeah. Or if you're going to a show, bring a case with you and donate it to the band.
We'll have our own Beers with Bands podcast each night if someone that listens to the show brings us some.
Yeah.
And we'll have you come in and we'll on the phone and we'll ask you questions.
I'm down for it. So everyone here just heard it. That's what's going down. We'll set it up. We'll get it going. But Luke, one last big thank you for taking the time out of your Tuesday. I know you have a busy schedule coming up, and I can't stress how much I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
No, of course. Thank you for your interest in our band and stuff. Like, I'm so happy to talk to anyone who likes it. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Well, keep ripping. We'll see each other one day. And, other than that, I'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Hell yeah. Have a good one.
See ya.
Beers with Bears. Beers with Bears.